All right, let's get right into it. In early 2024, the comedian Samay Raina found himself smack in the middle of a massive digital firestorm. And this wasn't just some online drama, it was something that genuinely threatened his entire career, his finances, and maybe most importantly, his own sanity. It all started with a single joke on his show, but it quickly spiraled into this frankly terrifying case study of how internet outrage works today. And that's the question Samai himself was asking. It's really the core of what we're going to break down here. How on earth did one little moment on one show blow up into a national news story? We're talking police, we're talking politicians, and yes, even death threats. So let's trace how it all went down. So what's crazy is just how fast this all happened. I mean, look at the timeline. The episode gets taped in January, no big deal. But then in early February, a clip goes viral, and almost overnight it escalates. We're talking FIRs, legal action, and death threats just days later. The whole thing was a brutal high-speed crash. Okay, so to really understand why this fire got so big, you have to understand the fuel that was already there. See, this whole controversy didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was basically born from a very intentional and very volatile clash of online personas on Samay's show, which, by the way, was hugely popular. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. You have to understand the strategy here. Samay's whole brand, his entire persona, was built on being this asshole, right? He was so outrageous that offensive jokes were just part of the package. But then you have Beer Biceps, who'd spent 10 years building this super clean, spiritual brand. So when the clean guy makes an off-color joke on the asshole's show, the internet just couldn't compute. That break in character was so jarring, it was like a system overload. And we're not talking about some little niche YouTube channel here. The scale was massive. 4 crore, that's 40 million unique devices tuning in every single month. So when something went wrong on a stage that big, it went wrong in a huge public way. And the first big domino to fall, it was drastic. The entire show, everything he had built just wiped from YouTube. And get this, he was in the US when he gets the call from the Mumbai police. At first he's like, no way, freedom of speech, you know? But then they arrested his editor, and the police started digging through every episode looking for more stuff. He really had no choice. He had to pull it all down. And here's the thing you absolutely have to remember. All of this is going down while Samay is literally on the other side of the planet. He's in the middle of his biggest ever US tour. This was supposed to be the high point of his career, but instead he's stuck in a hotel room trying to manage a complete catastrophe back home. The pressure just started piling on, and it was fast. First, the legal attacks came in from all over. Not just one, but 3 separate FIRs. Those are formal police complaints filed against him in 3 different states. We're talking Maharashtra, Jaipur, and all the way over in Assam. It was a coordinated legal assault. So while the legal system is getting involved, the online mob was already at his door. A single post on his Instagram got flooded with over 20,000 comments. And these weren't just angry messages. They were filled with hate, with direct threats on his life. Then his personal phone number got leaked, and the harassment became 24/7. It was just inescapable. So you've got legal threats, you've got death threats, and then there's the money. The financial stakes were absolutely catastrophic. If this whole campaign to bring him back to India worked, and he had to cancel that tour, he was looking at losing 8 crore rupees. Basically, his entire life savings. The pressure was coming from every single angle. Okay, so we've seen the legal side, the digital mobs, the financial pressure, but let's dig into the anatomy of this thing. Because the attacks started to get wider. It wasn't just online trolls anymore. Suddenly, mainstream media, politicians, even other celebrities were all piling on. It felt like everyone was taking a shot. And this right here, this contrast is just staggering. A picture went viral of him calmly playing chess backstage in Seattle, and people were like, see, he doesn't even care. But the reality? In that exact moment, he was having a severe anxiety attack. His heart was pounding out of his chest, he could barely breathe, he was terrified he was about to lose everything he'd ever worked for. It got so bad that he actually messaged his therapist right then and there. And her advice was blunt. She told him, you need to cancel the show. Right now. You cannot go on stage like this. They'll see the fear all over your face. But with all that money on the line, he felt like he had to. So here he is, at absolute rock bottom. He feels completely alone, totally attacked from every side, and he's thousands of miles from home. The one thing, the only thing that managed to pull him back from the edge was his family. They became his anchor in this absolute chaos. I mean, the stress got so severe that he talks about experiencing what he felt was a state of psychosis. You know that feeling where you're so overwhelmed that you start to feel disconnected from the world? Where you can't even tell if what's happening is real anymore? That's where he was, scared, alone, and at his absolute breaking point. It all came to a head during a long, emotional phone call with his dad. And his father said something that just cut through all the noise, all the fear. He said, "The show exists because of you. You don't exist because of the show." And that one line just reframed everything. The show was something he made. It wasn't who he was. He was bigger than it. And his dad didn't stop there. He followed it up with this piece of wisdom. He told him that this wasn't just some horrible disaster. It was part of the journey. You can't just have the good times, the highs. You have to have the lows too. And this low, he said, would be the thing that would make him wiser down the road. That conversation, that was the real turning point. So after you go through something like that, after you survive it, what do? Well, for Samay, it was about figuring out a whole new set of rules for a game he thought he'd already mastered. He basically came face to face with this choice. On one hand, you have this romantic, artistic ideal from George Orwell, right? Every joke is a tiny revolution. But on the other hand, you have the very real threat from the Assam police on the phone saying, "We will put you in jail." In that moment, he chose reality. He realized this wasn't a fight about art. It was a fight for survival. And these are the lessons he learned the hard way. 1. The internet isn't some pure stage for art. It's a brutal game of perception. 2. Sometimes just making it through to the next day is the victory. 3. You only pick fights that are fair. When they're not, you don't fight, you just survive. And finally, when everything else falls away, your family is the only thing left holding you up.
And all of this leaves us with one last big thought. We love to celebrate artists who fight back, the ones who become martyrs for free speech, but maybe in today's world, where an online mob can materialize out of thin air and try to destroy you, maybe just surviving the storm and living to create another day, maybe that's the most revolutionary act of all.